Alrighty, America. Welcome back to the 50-50 show. My name is
Hold
Omar.
on. What about Europe? What about
For-
Europe? What about Asia? What about Africa?
They know. If they're watching, they know they're also welcome. You just had to cut off my flow. You wanted to get inside my head before today's slate of debate. I don't appreciate that.
I
Okay?
need an
If
edge.
you could,
I
if
take
you
every
could
edge I
leave the
can.
mind games to when we start the debating, I would really appreciate that.
Uh,
Anyway, I was going to introduce you as my brother, but now I must do so reluctantly. This is my brother, Omar. Today, we're going to be talking about last night's NBA games, and then later we'll move on to previewing some NBA and even a little bit of NFL for you football fans. So first, we're going to talk about Brooklyn Nets taking on the Los Angeles Lakers. Lakers win a close game behind Austin Reeves, 38 points. Omar, as our resident Lakers stan, what do you think about this game? What do you think about the Lakers? Did this move the needle for you at all?
Well, it definitely doesn't move the needle for me. The spread for this game was 10.5. I would know. No comment on why. But the Lakers did not cover it. Obviously, AD was ruled out. That wasn't known at the time. But the Lakers should be winning this game by 6 to 7 points. It's a little sad that we needed AR to have a career-high 38 points on pretty efficient shooting, 13 of 23. And LeBron had a almost 29-point triple-double. He had 8 assists, 7 rebounds. So just sort of sad that it even got to that point. The same Brooklyn team couldn't even get over 70 points versus the Clippers, and then they put 100 on us. Granted,
the better LA team, so it makes sense.
There's some variance there, but yeah, just some takeaways in general. First of all, LeBron still had 5 turnovers. I don't know. I mean, the man's over 40 now, or is 40. Like, it's not something that can be fixed at this point, but that's the biggest issue with this game, and you see it almost every night in the regular season. A turnover is just so massive. It's literally worth something like 1.5 points, because when you turn it over, most of the time they're going to be able to finish that in an easy layup or dunk, right? So 2 points for the points they get, and it's not guaranteed, so you give it 1.5. Lakers versus a lot of the Western teams were only about 2 to 4 points worse. Like, if LeBron could actually average one less turnover, that gap could be bridged. I'm not saying it's LeBron's fault. I'm not saying anything like that. But that's a big issue with LeBron in the regular season. In the playoffs, he's a little better with the ball. But that's still an issue in the regular season. I definitely don't think it helped us. There's a reason why he was minus 11 in the plus minus. Obviously, he wasn't playing poorly. He was very efficient from the field. But the turnovers are just so brutal to make up. But this game was mostly about Austin Reeves with no AD in the game, and it was a bit of a matchup between AR on the Lakers and D'Lo on the Nets, because that's what the Lakers had to choose between as their starting point guards, right? D'Lo just got traded to the Brooklyn Nets, and that was the Lakers choosing to keep AR. I definitely think AR got the better of him, because D'Lo had the game-winning opportunity. With about 4 seconds to go, he takes a close 3. They're down 1. He misses, and the game's over. Debatable if he should have even shot a 3 when they only needed 2 to win, but it was just a straight up battle, guard on guard, cone on cone. Some cool moments were like when LeBron got switched onto D'Lo a couple of times, but especially the one I'm thinking of, he got so low, like he was when he guarded D Rose in the playoffs, sometimes when he guards Kyrie, he really takes those seriously, and I really like seeing that, because this is a guy that a lot of people say isn't a competitor. He's not a killer. He's no MJ. Listen, he's a nicer guy. I'll give you that. He actually seems pleasant to be around. But he definitely has a little chip on his shoulder. He takes things seriously sometimes, and he locked in defensively, and I really like that. This was a super low-scoring game. And I've talked about with LeBron, that's something I need to see in the playoffs. That kind of defense, I've seen him do it versus Jamal Murray for about half a quarter, a full quarter, fourth quarter, versus the Denver Nuggets 2 years ago on a broken foot. I've seen him do it a lot in Miami and Cleveland, and I've seen him do flashes of it in LA. I worry that he can't really sustain it, but if he's saving his energy, your hope is that in the playoffs, those 1 or 2 critical games, you're in a game 7 in the second round, you need to put an opponent away in the first round, that's when you need him to come in with that defense and secure the win, because often he's a bit of a cone in the regular season. But honestly, besides AR popping off and me seeing some, good defense from LeBron and still a lot of turnovers, just want to credit D'Lo. He wasn't the right fit for the Lakers because we had AR already and we needed other things like defense. But he's the best player on the Brooklyn Nets. Don't get that twisted. I have him even over Cam Johnson. Cam Johnson's more valuable to a contender because he's versatile. You just slot him in.
You mean Cam Thomas, right? Or are you talking about?
No,
you're talking about
Cam Johnson.
Okay.
Oh, well, Cam Thomas. I don't even rate him that highly, but he wasn't even playing. Okay. So I didn't even mention him, but Cam Johnson didn't end up playing either, but he was questionable, so he could have. So I was just saying, I think D'Lo is still better than him, But it's just, as a contender, it's not amazing because D'Lo forces your team to play in a certain way, and he gives your team certain weaknesses. And if you're going to have that, you might as well have Austin Reeves, or you might as well go have Tyrese Halliburton, right? Like these guards who can push the pace, the cones on defense. D'Lo's just worse than other people at it, but he's still a good player. He showed that today. 19 points, 8 assists. Definitely the leading, ball handler on this team. Also, just shout out to Ben Simmons. Don't really like the guy. I don't think he's I have a lot of issues with him, but he's having a quietly decent season this year. I think he's the second best player on the Nets lineup that played today. I'll just leave it at that. Keep the controversy out for now. But in general, I just think he's pretty good. He'll never be great because of his mental issues, right? Like you can't score more than 10 points a game. But he plays great defense, good at passing, good at rebounding. And yeah, he only gets 8 points, but they're always efficient 8 points. Like that's a solid player. And then Day'Ron Sharpe, he didn't have a great game. So if you're a Lakers fan who doesn't watch much Brooklyn, he maybe seemed a little bad to you. He got his rebounds today, but he usually plays a little better defense than he did. And he's usually not as terrible on offense. So those are the Brooklyn players I wanted to shout out that either did perform well or maybe didn't. But you should give them another shot. Everyone else, Zaire Williams, Keon Johnson, don't like them at all. I think they're absolute bums. Think Brooklyn has hit nothing there. And yeah, sorry, I forgot. Max Christie, 2 of 13. That's it. Max Christie, 2 of 13, man. Terrible. Regret every single minute I watch a Lakers game and see him on the court. Also, shout out Gabe Vincent. I do want to throw that out there. A lot of people were hating on him at the beginning of the season.
Including you.
Including me. Well, listen.
Excuse me.
Because when people talked about him at the beginning of the season, they thought they were getting a stud from Miami. And I always knew that wasn't the case. But then people started talking about him like he shouldn't even be on the roster. Like he can't even play on an NBA court. And that's not true at all. He's a serviceable bench player. He got 2 steals, 2 blocks, put in that defensive effort, still hit a couple of shots. I think he had 9 or 10 points. I know he went over his line because I had the under. So respectable offensive performance, great defensive performance. So those are my main takeaways, but for your overall question of did this move the needle? No, definitely didn't. If anything, it hurt me because it's like we shouldn't have to do if AR has 38 and LeBron has 29, why do we only have 102? That we should have 108, 110, 112. If you want to win this league, your offense really needs to be able to get over 110. And yeah, we're missing AD, but I just don't think that's acceptable. Like AD should be our defensive anchor. A lot of these guys are cones out here. Max Christie, Rui Hachimura, Cam Reddish, Dalton Connect. We need Dalton Connect 0-4 from 3. Like we just can't be having that consistently. And he's been 18% from 3 ever since he started out really hot. He hasn't been able to hit a 3. We need to get that offense going by the time we get into the playoffs. So this doesn't move the needle at all for me. If anything, it's confirmation we're a mediocre roster right now. Dorian Finney-Smith did not play. Like, he didn't even play any minutes, so maybe injury or whatever. But, again, I'm just going to talk about it every time the Lakers come up. Dorian Finney-Smith needs to start, or else this roster is not going to work. J.J. Redick's been signing, 2-way contracts on centers because they want to run a 2-big lineup again. I just don't understand why it can't be Dorian Finney-Smith. I honestly don't understand.
Well, because he's a 3 to 4.
Yeah, put him at the 4 and let AD run the 5. They're so obsessed with getting AD over to the 4.
Because he didn't like running the 5.
No, I know, and he said that. But the players they're signing, the names that are being mentioned, are terrible. If you're so obsessed with a 2-center lineup, go get you a real center. I just don't see a world where it's you're signing a G League player as your center, AD at the 4, DFS is still not starting. Mm-hmm. What are you doing? How are you going to win? I don't get it. I honestly don't get it. At first, I thought the Lakers had made a great move because they upgraded from D'Lo to DFS. But now I'm starting to think they just got lucky and hit the gem of DFS. And they only did the trade so they could get out of D'Lo, get him off the team, and get rid of all the issues that were happening there, which is really sad because that is not enough for this team to win. You need to integrate DFS. He's a top 5 player on this roster easily. 4th, LeBron, AD. I would put him above AR, but I understand AR for most people. That's cool. It's not a big deal to me. And then DFS. You need to get DFS those minutes. But I mean, yeah, that's my takeaway. I wouldn't say I was too happy. It was. Frankly, I shouldn't have been that worried in the 4th quarter. 2 seconds to go, D'Lo could have hit the game winner on us. Why are we in that position? That's not okay.
I agree mostly on your points. It's really hard to argue this one. I'm not a Lakers fan, so I already knew these things. I guess it took a little bit to get on the side of reality.
No.
One thing I'll bring up that you didn't is Rui Hachimura. I'm actually really disappointed in his play for the last 2 seasons because what we saw in the, I want to say 2022, maybe 2023 playoffs, when they played the Grizzlies, when they played the Warriors, Hachimura showed some real promise as a driving threat, had his midi game and his defense as well, looking like to be like an all around kind of player that the Lakers really needed. We're 2 years removed from that playoff series. He really hasn't taken any leaps in his driving game and his ability to shoot the three or the mid range, and his defense seems to be getting worse and worse. But like now he's like average to below average defender instead of the above average defender they were looking for. So that's been a little disappointing, especially because he signed a pretty good contract. So they're pretty much stuck with him, but he seems to still be stuck. But yeah, for me, I already knew the Lakers. I've been telling Lakers fans, but like they struggle to be a team that is so clearly tanking. They might get hit with a fine soon for trying to lose games.
It's sort of funny because they did it too late. Like, they're so bad now, but they already got those wins with Jordy as the coach, Dennis Schroeder. It's too late. Like, how are you ever going to match the trashness of the Charlotte Hornets or the Washington Wizards or the New Orleans Pelicans? Like, I don't think you can get there. But no, it's like you might end up agreeing a lot with me, but that's because people just have unrealistic expectations of the Lakers. Like, some fans have it, and so maybe to them I don't seem like a real fan, but I'm just realistic. And haters think, like, they just put these, like, the Skip Baylesses of the world, they put these really high expectations on us, so the only thing we can do is fail. Like, why would we be the best team in the West? Why would we be even
LeBron
close?
James. Your GOAT. Your GOAT is on the Los Angeles Lakers. Should they not be contenders?
Not
Anthony Davis.
I think most LeBron fans, even if they still believe LeBron is the best player in the league, which I don't think a majority do anymore.
I sure hope not.
But even if they did, it would have to be with the caveat that we're only talking playoffs. No one legitimately believes over any random 200 minutes that LeBron is doing more than Giannis, because Giannis is way younger. LeBron's going to have more lapses on defense because he's out of breath. He's old. He's going to have more turnovers. He just doesn't care. Like, he's not chasing any awards. All he's trying to do is make the playoffs. So even if you think LeBron is, I mean, yeah, I have him as my GOAT, but it's not because I think he's the best player in the league in year 21. If you think that, I think you're a little delusional and you're being unfair to the young guys. I think he's probably top 5 in the league in the playoffs. Like, I'm taking him over Joel Embiid in the playoffs. I like him over Luka in the playoffs.
What?
I like him over the young guys like D-Book in the
Luka
playoffs.
Doncic in the last year's finals, Luka?
Yeah, no, exactly. And I like him over D. Mitch in the playoffs. But like D. Mitch in the regular season, I don't think, even if you want to argue LeBron's better, it's pretty close, right? Like, there's a reason the Cavs are the number 1 seed. Like, day in, day out, they're playing defense, they're playing offense, passing the ball around, limiting the turnovers. So I don't feel like people just try to put us in a box. As Lakers fans, we have to expect greatness because that's what the Lakers franchise stands for. To me, that's on the GM. That's on them. If you want greatness and you want your franchise to be considered great, how about you get Max Christie off my starting lineup? How about you get Cam Reddish off my entire lineup? Like, what are we doing here? You're signing two-way centers. That's not J.J. Redick's fault. Yeah, J.J. Redick talked about it in the press conference. Do you think he's the one controlling the budget? He's the one controlling the draft picks? And I will say, by the way, one of the biggest critiques I have of LeBron and his Lakers tenure is not gameplay related. It's the trade to get Russell Westbrook.
Le GM.
Yeah, I've talked about this before. LeBron James is not a very good GM, but he started doing all this because the Cavs GM in the 2000s was so incompetent, so idiotic that he was like, well, anything's going to be better than this. So I'll just read my dummy's guide to how to be a GM, be better than you. And that's what he did. And now he has like 4 or 5 chips, great career. But he honestly could have had 7 or 8 if he had a GM like MJ did, where he's like, you just get to sit in your city, drop 36, and he goes and finds the Scottie Pippins and the Dennis Rodmans. Like, LeBron doesn't get those players brought to him. And he takes control over. And I think the Lakers are always going to regret that, dude. Alex Caruso, are you kidding me? That one player smokes Russell Westbrook. Think about what else we gave up. I still think Kuzma isn't that bad. He's terrible on the Wizards right now.
Kuzma's trash.
No, he's terrible on the Wizards right now, but I think it's just because he just doesn't care. He was a decent player on the Lakers. On that chip roster, come on now.
He was okay.
He was better than Russell Westbrook was.
For the Lakers, yeah. When Westbrook was for the Lakers, sure.
I mean, and then when he went to the Clippers, Westbrook wasn't great. Oh, Westbrook's only started to look good in Denver, and that's because of Jokic. You said that. You talked about how Jokic can make any bench player look like a star.
Yeah, but Westbrook is particularly pairing well with him.
Yeah, but it's still that pairing, right?
It's still that connection. Jamal Murray's not trash just because he plays with Jokic.
Yeah, no, I know. But I bet if I put Jamal Murray on the Clippers, he wouldn't have 0 of 5 from three-point games, would he?
Probably not.
Yeah, okay. So... yeah, ever since that trade and we lost all those pieces, it hasn't been looking good. And LeBron's defense just gets worse and worse in the regular season. So I don't know what you want me to say, man. Like, I'm not delusional. But I will say, don't take this to mean that we're not going to be a threat in the playoffs. Because all these young teams like the Houston Rockets, the Memphis Grizzlies, even the Golden State Warriors, I wouldn't say like they're young, but
the Warriors are trash.
They're not built for the
Warriors.
Playoffs.
Are like they're not.
Well, they were good earlier.
They're barely inside playoff.
They were
contention.
good earlier, though.
Okay,
they were good earlier, and even like the Kings, I think we're better in the playoffs than all those teams. So when I say
smoke your Lakers,
when I say
smoke your Lakers,
my brother, you guys couldn't win until you got Doug Christie as your coach. Okay, calm down.
Player coach, bro.
So we're probably like a 7th best roster, but because clutchness and playoff factor is a thing, in the playoffs, I'm still putting us like 4th. I would be disappointed if we lost in the first round. But don't expect me to get on here and say that we are bad or we choked if we lose to the Nuggets or the Thunder in the second round. We are not as good of a roster. Like if we win, it's an upset, and it's probably off the backs of like legendary playoff performances from players like LeBron. But you can't actually look at my roster, bro. Like, Let me list some players from the OKC Thunder. You guys might not even heard of them, okay? Cason Wallace is a starter on the OKC Thunder right now. I don't know how many people know him. He is better than almost every player on the Lakers roster.
Like
and
who?
He comes off
like
the
who? Like
he's better than Connect.
Okay.
He's better than Max Christie. He's better than Cam Reddish. He's better than Rui Hachimura. He's better than Vanderbilt. He's better than Gabe Vincent. The only players he's not better than is LeBron, AD, and Reeves. He would be our 4th best player. I mean, and he's not better than DFS, but with the minutes we give to DFS, you know. But he's the 4th or 5th best player on our roster, and he can easily come off the bench in OKC. Alex Caruso, Isaiah Joe. Like, all these top teams, their 8th man is a starter on a team like ours. It's just the reality. No one looks at the Spurs and is like, why are you guys losing? Because they have Devin Vassell in the starting lineup. They're developing Stephon Castle, you know, but you give them the pass because their superstar is a young guy. There's pressure on us. Like, we got to win. I don't know about that. I feel like the pressure to win was in 2020. At this point, it's just about ending with a good legacy, man. I don't want no embarrassments. I don't want no stains on LeBron's legacy, like that dumb Drake diss. Keep that out of here. All we got to do is beat those kind of allegations and beat those kind of cases. Because at this point, the gameplay, you've already seen the peak. At this point, just be impressed that we're not old and decrepit at the age of 40 like certain other GOATs. So it is what it is, you know?
I think that'll do it for this segment.
I just shut you right up. You had nothing to say. I kept it real.
Yeah.
I kept it real with the Laker fans.
I mean, I agree with you. There's not much to say. We'll go on a 3-minute break, and then we'll discuss our next game.
All right, bet. Alrighty. So welcome back to the next segment of the 50-50 show. Now we're going to be talking about the Denver Nuggets versus the Miami Heat. Denver won 133-113 in a 20-point blowout in Jimmy Butler's first game back after the 8-game suspension that the Miami Heat gave to him. Aaron Gordon also returned for the Denver Nuggets, but he did come in off the bench. So, Omair, obviously Denver Nuggets, really big blowout game. Feel free to talk about your Nuggets, but first, talk to me about Jimmy Butler. What did you see? Do you think he's trying? What do you make of this Miami Heat team that's going through this really crazy drama in the middle of the season?
I'll first talk about my Miami Heat, and then I'll get on to the Denver Nuggets. First, let's talk about the man of the hour, Jimmy Butler. Let's look at what's going on with him. So the main issue we can see with him is that before he was suspended, he clearly showed a lack of engagement and lack of energy in the game. He was quite literally, as he puts himself, sitting in the corner. Okay, and now he might construe it as the offense is phasing him out, or he's not being used the way he wants to. Clearly a bit of a silent protest, only shooting, I think, 7 shots the game before he gets suspended. But let's look at Butler as a player, okay, because I completely understand him as a player, and I kind of understand where he's coming from as well. So let's look at Butler. For his entire career, except for that 2023 playoff run, Butler has been defined by an obscene ability to drive at the rim and finish. while also giving you good energy on defense. He's a average to below average mid-range shooter, and God forbid he shoots a three. So then what happened in the 2023 playoffs, defenses were playing him in drop coverage because he's so good at driving, and he starts pulling the midi. Tyler Hero is out for the entire postseason run, so he's given the green light to take as many shots as he wants. But what? He starts hitting those shots at almost MJ levels of accuracy. I want to say 48-49% from the mid-range as a whole. So he takes over. He leads his team to the finals. Then they come back in the regular season. That mid-range shooting goes right back down to normal. He's back to being average. Okay. Then he gets injured in the last year's postseason. He tears his MCL. Comes back this season. Same story. He's still good at driving at the rim, but not a great midi shooter. But there's an added twist. Tyler Hero's back, and he's having a career season. Across the board, numbers are up and efficiency is up. He's really upgraded his game. What does that mean? Even less shots, even less opportunities for Butler. So then what are we seeing now? He's not even driving to the rim that aggressively. He'll have the ball, and instead of taking it all the way to the rim, he'll look for early passes, dribble handoffs, and look to get rid of the ball. I don't know if that was a form of protest or he truly is just getting worse. He's kind of making it hard for us to understand. I'm playing bad, I'm just protesting. He could say that, and his fans could say that, but I really couldn't tell you. So then let's look at last night's game. I didn't see any of that, and I'm very happy for the Miami Heat with what Jimmy Butler gave them. He only gave them 18 points, but very much looked like vintage Butler. He did not have the ball in his hands a lot. He wasn't very aggressive with the ball in terms of driving, but that was okay. He went back to his roots, his first year in Miami roots, playing with Philly. A lot of off-ball cuts. Instead of sitting in the corner, he's in the dunker spot. He's going hard for rebounds, even if he doesn't get the ball for an offensive board, or he's in the dunker spot, so he's catching lobs or catching dump passes to, hit the rim. Really well-timed cuts, playing off Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo, and then some middies as well, getting into the high post. He hit a midi over Jamal Murray, I want to say, and then another midi on the baseline. It was just more vintage Butler gameplay. Good off-ball movement, good mid-range shooting. So this, going forward, could be a good compromise for Miami if Butler keeps it up, where he embraces the off-ball role, goes back to his roots, because at being 35, it doesn't make sense. Or not 35, sorry, he is older though. Asking him to have so much ball handling duties, while having a young guy like Tyler Hero, who we can agree has more upside.
No, I cannot agree.
Okay,
but feel free.
Okay, we'll get there. I would say Tyler Hero has more upside. So understandably, we get where Miami's coming from, and they appreciate what Butler's doing for them. But one thing I will say, though, I understand Butler's frustration. Because you look at it from his perspective, it really truly does feel like Miami had no interest in building a roster around him that could truly contend for the chip. That 2023 playoff run was a fluke. They shouldn't have been that good, but because Butler went quite literally MJ mode, he became Himmy Butler, Himmy Buckets, they got to the playoffs. And for him, he saw what he can do. But the team didn't see that. So they don't feel like they were stringing him along like, we'll get you a roster, we'll contend for a chip. They never did. They never pulled the trigger on the move that could have potentially put them over the hump. And then they don't.
Terry Rozier, though.
Yeah, exactly.
My boy Rozier.
Terry Rozier. We know what Rozier gets up to and is not playing with basketballs.
Okay, shout out Selena, though.
Okay, all right. Let's chill out there. We don't need a name drop. So
just saying, he had great game after that one.
Yeah. Okay. So then, and on top of that, so the team's kind of stringing him along, not really contending for the chip the way he wants to. And last summer, they wouldn't give him the max contract extension. So while I see it from a business perspective, Miami's perspective, yeah, Jimmy Butler probably isn't good enough being the first option leading your team to a chip. He did it once and exactly once in the postseason, and I don't think he's going to ever do it again. He's not getting any younger, right? But then from Butler's perspective, I also see it where he's giving his body, he's giving his passion, his sweat, his blood, his tears to this organization, and they can't even give him the money he feels he has earned. So that I see both perspectives, but at the end of the day, the last night's game was a good showing from Butler. Miami fans have nothing to complain about for Butler except maybe his defense, but what else do you expect from an aging star? Real quick on the rest of Miami, I know I took a lot of time on Butler. Bam Adebayo was solid as always. I don't like his offensive game. I've said that before. I think it's okay, but it's not great by any means. He very much relies on the short mid-range jumpers, those little bunnies. And I just think he's not very consistent from there, which is really bad when you don't have a powerful inside game to back it up.
Or a three.
Exactly, or a three. And Tyler Hero, 2 of 7 from 3. Thing is, I'm not worried about that. I didn't mind that at all because the inside game was quite good. It was 2 of 7 from 3, but he was quite efficient from the field overall. So even though the 3 wasn't falling, he found a way to get inside driving lanes, hit a couple middies, get into the floater. I really like that versatility from him because you don't want your first option or your future first option, if you still believe in Jimmy Butler, to be just one-dimensional three-point shooter. He has other facets to his game, which he was definitely using to his advantage. And then just finally, as I bring my segment to a close, the Nuggets. Jokic, he's still my MVP. 9 of 12, a cool, relaxed, just a chill guy dropping a 24-point triple-double.
I don't know if people are going to agree with that. Shea just dropped 40 on Cleveland.
I know people still fan of Shea, but no, for me, the Joker, he's still my MVP because he's just so dominant on the offensive end. He can do it all. He can shoot threes, post up, layups, run the break, run in transition himself, pass, of course. All right? And he did that 9 of 12, hyper efficient. While his co-star, Jamal Murray, drops 30, he takes a lot of the shots, takes a lot of ball handling duties. So even while he lets his co-star shine, he himself still just had a great game. And of course, Westbrook, my guy, I know you're going to hate. You're always going to find a way to hate. Westbrook, 11 points, 7 assists, good three-point shooting night. Love to see it. It was just fantastic. So as a Nuggets fan, that was great. As a appreciative of Coach Spolstra and Miami ball, I love what I saw from Jimmy Butler, and Tyler Hero continues to improve. So that's my take on the game.
Yeah, I don't think I could disagree more, man.
Okay, tell us about it.
So here's the thing with the Jimmy Butler situation. Oh, man, where do I even start? So he got swindled by Pat Riley because if you guys remember, there was a time where Dame to Miami was the favorite, place for
Dame wanted to go to Miami.
Dame wanted to go there. And instead, Pat Riley got Jimmy Butler, Rozier. Bro, like, are you kidding me? That's not even the Chrysler and the Phantom thing. That's like the '07 Honda that's broken down. Like, I don't even know how to analogize. Like, they're not comparable players at all. It was a terrible GMing decision, and whoever did it really needs to be fired. And if it's Pat Riley, send that brother to the nursing home because he's washed. Like, of course, as Jimmy Butler, you're not getting paid, right? You're not getting the max contract. You're getting ice out of the offense. Tyler Hero is getting to take more shots than you. I'm pretty sure at some point, Bam Adebayo was getting to take more shots.
Which is unacceptable, in my opinion. Adebayo over Butler, no.
And because remember, the offense already runs through Bam because it's that spoke offense where you put the 4 on the high post and let it all run through, right? And you're busting your butt on defense. Tyler Hero, meanwhile, is a cone. Duncan Robinson's a cone. Like, you got a bunch of cones on this team.
D-Rob comes off the bench a lot.
No, I know, but like, who's trying on defense? Like, Rozier's not trying on defense.
Adebayo is.
It's just Bam and Butler, right? So Butler is now not getting the offensive love. He's not getting the defensive love. He's not getting the money from Pat Riley. And remember, his father passed away last year, and I feel like he feels that the team judged him for how much time he spent away from the family. I know that was a contention point in one of their private meetings, and Butler was talking about how I only left to go see my dad, and the Miami side is like, what about those Instagrams you posted with your friends on charters, on game days? Like, there's arguments there, but I think it's more of a philosophical one. I think it's about are you really bought into the culture type of thing? Whereas for me, I think with Jimmy, he always says, what about my output? Like, why is no one respecting my output? Because the same thing happened to him in Philly. They were always talking about, do you think he's controllable? Do you think he's like a dog that we can control, or do we need to let him go? And he talked about in an interview I think he did with JJ Redick, it's like, when I heard that, I knew I was leaving Philly because I'm not a dog. I'm a grown man. Like, he said that, right? And I think he's getting those same feelings from Pat Riley because it's like, yeah, there's a Miami culture and you got to do things a certain way, but brother, like, he is the only good player you have. What do you want?
Tyler Hero, yeah.
No, Tyler Hero's not. Let me just get that out there. I don't think Tyler Hero's that good. He's just an average starting point guard in the NBA. He's way worse than Dame. He's not better than Butler. I don't even have him over Bam. Yeah, his offense is better than Bam, but when you consider the defense and the overall holistic player, I don't think he's very good. You basically just have a worse Halliburton. Like, when I just think of East point guards to compare him to, you're never going to do anything because the Pacers are just a better version of you. So let's just get that out of the way. But I think that's sort of what happening to Jimmy Butler. You were talking about it. He was playing off the cuts this game, right? I just in general felt he was playing very third option. I got flashbacks to Tobias Harris. I got flashbacks to Jimmy on Minnesota. Not even like Philly for sure, but on Minnesota too. So he's getting into that position, but I think he was just annoyed because he's like, you guys are forcing me to go back to that third option when I just did that in the playoffs.
Well, 2 playoffs ago.
Well, yeah. And then Tyler Hero's never proved himself. Why does he get to take over the reins of the offense when I probably have one of the best performances of the 2020 so far? Like, is anyone arguing that? Outside of actual winning the chip, that Jimmy Butler run was historic. And they did it twice. They had 2 miracle runs to the Eastern Conference
the
Final.
2020 bubble run, but I don't think Butler was as dominant in that run. He had a great performance in the final against the Lakers.
Final. Exactly.
That iconic moment where he's
sweating, he's exhausted. Exactly.
But you have to admit that whole run though for 2020, it wasn't just him.
Yeah, no,
very much the team came together for that one.
For sure, but he was the first option on that run. So I think he's in his mind, that's what he's seeing. But I just think, like, people look at it as ego. To me, he's not being ego because he said this. I believe it's maybe a rumor, but I'm pretty sure he said this. He's fine being the third option to Kevin Durant and Devin Booker on the Suns, but he doesn't want to be the third option to Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo, and who can blame him? He is a better player than anybody else in the Miami Heat. If he's on the same team with KD, I don't think he's egotistical enough to be like, KD, I want the ball, let me do it. I really think he will take that step back, and then he'll be fine if he makes a little less money because he's like, okay, well, at least I'm on a good team. And I'm still being like, no one's ever going to disrespect me. No one's going to say I'm a bad third option. On Miami, it sort of feels like he was being disrespected the whole time. I don't know what was going on behind the scenes with him, Pat Riley, and Spoelstra, but that's always the vibe I got since Tyler Hero came back. And I think it's really sad. I do agree with you, by the way, that Butler was never good enough to contend as a first option, but that's because most players are not good enough to contend as a first option. Like, I look at Indiana, Tyrese Halliburton isn't good enough to win, and when they got Spicy P, they're still not good enough to win. But do you think the Indiana Pacers GM went to Halliburton and is like, well, brother, I can't offer you the max contract because you're not that good, and I'm going to go get you a Terry Rozier level player because we can't contend, so might as well just get a bum off the bench. That's not an acceptable thing for a GM to say to a top player whose life is basketball.
Well, that's probably why he feels frustrated. Exactly. I don't think Pat Riley said that. He's not a moron. If you say that to your star, he's leaving.
But that's,
so he kind of, like what I said, he strung him along.
Exactly.
So while I hate to agree with you, I think on this point we can.
Yeah, I just think Jimmy got disrespected. And I think if you're a Miami fan who believes in Tyler Hero, maybe you're going to be a little more likely to be angry at Jimmy Butler. But since I don't, to me, this is a D Wade kind of situation again. You're letting this great, but he's not even as old and washed as D Wade or anything. Like, you're just letting this great player walk away. And Pat Riley, what proof does he have that he knows how to build like a team? Honestly, show me any proof of, and please do not reference from years before I was born, okay? Because even if that's valid, it's too long ago. The whole scene has changed, right? When has Pat Riley built a team? LeBron came to him. He didn't build any of that.
When we got Shaq,
he got D-Wade they drafted, right? Top draft pick. And then ever since then,
but they paired him with Shaq and they won that chip.
Yeah, but like, he didn't. That's what I'm saying. He didn't draft them. Like, you had to have the player. So if you think Tyler Hero is that level of player, you might feel a certain type of way. Because I don't feel that way about Tyler Hero, I don't see where the future is for Miami after you did this to Butler. Because I also feel like if you go back and you ask Dame now, hey, are you happy you didn't go to Miami? I think he's like, yeah, hell yeah, I'm happy. Like, and he's being coached by Doc Rivers. So think about that. Like, that he has to be like, yeah, this is better. I think this is going to hurt them in the free agency market for the next 2 to 5 years. I think people aren't going to forget that this is how Jimmy was treated. Because for all you want to say about Jimmy being toxic or whatever, unless some evidence comes out about he was doing some crazy stuff, all I see is your best player being sort of frozen out of the money, the offense, the defense, disrespected in the press conferences. Like, remember, what really happened was, like, a big moment was Jimmy Butler said something in a press conference, and then Pat Riley did his press conference, and he was like, if you have nothing useful to say or nothing good to say, you should just shut up.
Well, because actually I can give the context.
Yeah.
So in last year's playoff run, Miami Heat is playing the Celtics, and Jimmy Butler said, if he was playing, he was injured at this point. He said, if I was playing, the New York Knicks would be at home, Indiana Pacers would be at home, and so would the Boston Celtics.
Yeah.
And he said they're all bums compared to him.
Exactly. And so maybe, Pat is trying to do that thing of, like, don't disrespect your teammates who did play.
I mean, it's the Heat culture, right? That's what he's trying to enforce.
But I just think, like, that's just Jimmy. Like, that's he trash talks. I guarantee you he's saying that on the court, is he not? We know, like, what was said during that Minnesota practice. Jeff Teague, everyone's talked about it. Like, he's really out there saying, like, y'all are bums. Y'all can't win without me. Give me 4 scrubs. I will beat everybody here. He really feels that type of way. If you're trying to neuter that, like, you're trying to take away what makes him a man, what makes him a basketball player, like, frankly, Pat Riley, you should be fired. Like, that's what I'm going to say on this. Like, from this game, I see Jimmy Butler coming back and trying to be a consummate professional. I'm just not with Pat Riley, bro. Get that man out of here. If you're a Miami fan, you should want him out of here because he hasn't done anything good. Like, what do you want? What are you crediting him with?
See,
What?
I get what you're saying, and you seem like a more sort of Jimmy Butler fan, so I understand why you'd be frustrated.
I'm always siding with the player, especially.
Exactly. But if I look at it from the team perspective and what Pat Riley did, hasn't what he just done? All he's done has been a shrewd businessman. He saw Jimmy Butler as someone who's well liked by the fans. He definitely pulls in fans, right? But he knew, and a lot of us knew, that he's not good enough to win a chip. So why would he commit money or resources to maximizing this Butler when he knows it's not enough for the ultimate goal of winning a chip? And when you have someone like Tyler Hero, who could be, because he's young, because of the development and where his game, his three-point shooting, his versatility could lead to something. I understand. I already pointed out, I think Butler was played with and swindled a little bit. And I understand frustration. But you look at it from the fan perspective, who only cares about Miami, who only cares about their future success. Don't you think Pat Riley did a good job?
No. If you are a Miami fan, you are a Miami lifer, okay? Viva la Miami. Pat Riley is trash, bro. He ruined your whole franchise. He has no evidence that he's ever done well, and he's continuing to fail. Tyler Hero, I literally, oh my God, I wish someone would put up a market where if I could bet against Tyler Hero to win a chip as a first option, because I have $1 million to put down on the no of that. I don't care what price. Like, he is not good enough. And if that's what this whole basis is around, you failed from step one. There is no shot. Like, think of the guards that have won, like, recently, like, as a first option. We're talking Curry level.
Yeah, that's the only first option guard.
If anyone sees Tyler Hero and thinks he is near Curry level, I got a crack pipe you can share with me, my brother. Like, what are we...
Share with you? Yeah, you have been humping that crack.
I partake.
Hey, yo,
I have some opinions that could be attributed to that. This is a metaphorical one, obviously.
Yeah.
Listen, if that's what you did this on the basis off of, that's ridiculous. And you're saying Jimmy Butler isn't good enough, so why maximize? That's why I brought up that Indiana Pacers thing. By that logic, only 3 teams should be trying to win in any given year. If you don't have Jason Tatum in the East, why are you trying to win? The Cavs don't have a single player that's within a throwing, like a distance of Jason Tatum. That's my opinion. And I believe if you ask most GMs, they would say the same thing. D-Mitch is not on that level. Do you think but the Cavs are winning? Like, you're putting butts in seats. You're building a decent legacy. And then, you just always leave yourself outs to continue growing. So the Miami Heat, they haven't done that. I feel like if you went and got Damian Lillard instead of Rozier, you wouldn't have been bankrupt. And then you would get to have Hero coming off the bench. Now we're getting into a Peyton Pritchard kind of situation. Because I'd happily say Hero is one of the best guards coming off the bench in the entire league. Right? Sort of the Miles McBride situation in New York, but even better than him. And then you'd have Damian Lillard as a starting point guard. Then this team is like 4th in the East. This team could have been where Orlando is
honestly,
right now in terms of seeding.
I kind of like where you're coming from. Okay, another thing we also need to consider is Tyler Hero. He's technically a shooting guard. I'm pretty sure.
Move him to the 2.
6'5".
Move him to the 2.
He could have very much moved in the 2. Because when I watched his game, if I talked about him, his playmaking, his passing, 4th on the list. I like his driving. I like his scoring ability. I like his scoring versatility. Yeah. But the passer, I think, is definitely more... He's coming forced in that role where they don't have any good point guards. God forbid Terry Rozier is facilitating your offense. So actually,
and then those little bunnies that Bam can't hit, he can stop shooting those. You can be like, Bam, man, respectfully, we only need about 3 shots a game. You can be our Rudy Gobert. So now you got this defensive stud. Then Jimmy Butler's like, okay, now I'm taking less shots, but now Dame is shooting some more shots. I'm cool with that. Tyler Hero's shooting shots, but that's because that's his job. It's not like a usage thing. He's just got to put the shots up. And then I'll be that more versatile wing, and then Bam will be our defensive anchor. Now, do I think this team would have won the East? No. Jason Tatum would have had to have his ACL and MCL tear, and Kristaps Porzingis would have to be out. And then, of course, the Cavs, and then the Knicks team. I'm not saying that Miami would be favored, but you got to remember, that's just a regular season record type of thing. I would argue, for Miami to have any chance of winning a ring in the next 10 years, you sort of need to believe that Jimmy Butler is that LeBron type of player. He doesn't Jamal Murray type of player. They don't take regular season as seriously, but they level up in the playoffs. I would say there's enough evidence to prove that. He's done it twice in 4 years.
See,
as much evidence as you can get.
As an analyst, I don't see that. Cause what Jimmy Butler did in those playoff runs, those are anomalies. They are not. They are exceptions to the rule, exceptions to the norm.
No, I know, but I think most teams, if you don't have a top 5 player in the NBA, you need an anomaly to really have a chance of contending.
So you're saying you're saying basically is that you rank their players.
Yeah.
They have any chance it's gonna be on an anomaly occurring.
And he's already done it
maximize
twice.
for it.
And he's already done it twice, so I'm not asking for anything crazy. And yeah, you need to maximize for it because even if the anomaly doesn't happen, even if Butler doesn't show up in the playoffs to the level he's done before, did you really fail when you got to the 4th seed and you probably won in the first round and you lost in a close second round? Because now I don't see where the future is. Like, what is the future for Miami now? And now you get to be the 8th seed team. You're going to lose in the first round. You can book that right now. Miami, if they make it to the playoffs and they don't have Jimmy Butler, they're going to lose in the first round. That's straight up. So you're saying, like, for the future of Miami, the only way this becomes good for the future of Miami is if Pat Riley gets lucky and he gets some idiot to give him, like, the Mikal Bridges level haul for Jimmy Butler, which, remember, New York was dumb enough to even pay it in the first place. Like, who's going to pay it? Who? I don't know. I honestly can't think of a team. New York was one of the few teams that was contender level and had a lot of draft picks to give up. Like, there's OKC, but I don't think OKC is going to be dumb enough to overpay for Jimmy Butler. So I don't even see how Miami's future got better. Now you guys get to have a mediocre point guard. At least he was in a Jack Harlow song. You have Bam Adebayo, who's like a significantly worse version of Rudy Gobert. And then who else do you have? You have Kellel. Oh, you have Jovic, by the way. Shout out to Jovic from this game, just to bring it a little back to today, actually. Yeah. Or last night. I did like what I saw on offense. Really big body. Like, it was attacking Denver from the perimeter all the way to the paint. But it's not enough. So, and now you just look like douches.
Yeah. Ultimately, I will say this, though, with your Damian Lillard situation, you almost pulled me in. I was also kind of seeing what you're saying. You have to remember, though, at the time, the talks between the Blazers and the Heat, the Blazers were really trying to run Heat for the money for that trade. They wanted Adebayo for Lillard. They or maybe even Hero. Would you have given up Hero for Lillard?
Yeah, I would have given up Hero for Lillard. Are you crarazy? Yeah.
I think they were also trying to get Adebayo. If I remember correctly,
no.
Adebayo had to be a part of the trade for the Blazers.
No, because what did Milwaukee end up giving up for him? Remember, who ended up on Portland was Robert Williams, I believe, and then some draft picks.
Yeah, because they did a
three-man trade. Yeah, but what I'm just talking about what Portland ended up getting, right? Because as a Portland GM, all you're considering is when I give up Dame, what do I get back? And if I remember correctly, they got Robert Williams and a bunch of draft picks, and that's about it. Now, granted, I think Robert Williams is great, but
they're a tanking team. Yeah. He's no tank commander.
Exactly, and he's constantly injured. So I feel like if you had actually been willing to give up Hero, they would have considered it. I don't know why. It's dumb of them. They already had Anthony Simons and Scoot Henderson. They already have guards that are bad and they can't develop.
But I think that's why they were looking for Adebayo. They already have guards.
Yeah,
so giving up Adebayo on the older side would be kind of a thing. We were like, okay, we got a nice piece. Our guards developed, and they could have been a real team.
Yeah, well, you can't give up Adebayo. I agree with that. But I mean, anything over Rozier, man. Like, come on, think of it. Like, why didn't we get DFS? Why didn't we get Dorian Finney-Smith?
Rozier was a hot commodity at the time. He was playing quite well.
That's what I'm saying. As a GM,
you can't get swindled.
You can't get swindled like that. Like, if Twitter believes Terry Rozier is good, like, think about it. That's what as a GM you're paid for, right? Like, I make money for knowing more about player rating and teams than the average viewer. That's literally like what the market requires. A GM should always be better than me. If you're worse than me at that as a GM, please feel free to hand me your 8-figure paycheck. I will gladly take it. And of course, I'm not egotistical. I'm not crazy. They are better than me. They live and breathe basketball. If Pat Riley fell for that, to me, that's an indictment on his recent record. And that's why I asked you, how about you show me some good signs? I would say the Kevin Love one, for example. I'll throw one out there. Getting Kevin Love was good. I don't think they've used him as much, for as many minutes as they should. But Kevin Love was a good signing. But I just don't see what Pat Riley has proven. He's not a Sam Presti. What evidence do we have that he could build anything? Even if Tyler Hero, I'll give it to you. Tyler Hero is going to end up being as good as Tyrese Halliburton, like a top 5 guard on the East, but not a top 5 player. How about that'll be fair, right? I think most Tyler Hero fans would consider me not a hater if I offer you that. Yeah. Where's your evidence that Pat Riley can build around that? Because the Pacers so far haven't been able to do so, and that's it. Like I just show like other GMs can't even do it. Well, I see even less proof for the Heat. So now to me, it's over. As a Miami Heat, it's over, bro. Get ready to watch a whole lot of Kellel Ware minutes, getting some useless double-doubles. Get ready to see Jovic. Okay, cool. And you're just not going to win a chip. And now the goal for the Miami Heat is just going to be to get out of the first round. It's like right now, in my opinion, what we're seeing is equivalent to what we saw when the Lakers traded everything for Russell Westbrook. Like, you are literally seeing a pretty good roster, but not one that should win consistently. be bumped down to first round winning is our goal. You're seeing it real time, and it's all about the GMs. I always put it on the GMs because that is your job. If you cannot manage a roster and then sign good players, you are a paycheck thief. And it updates every year.
So, are you saying Pat Riley is a paycheck thief?
Yes. He is. What has he done good as the GM recently? Go ahead.
Honestly, I don't follow Miami Heat offseason moves too much.
No, and every time they're always rumored to get a star. They never do because they're scared to actually give anything up. And you look at their recent playoff runs, you yourself admitted it. It's Jimmy Butler in the 2023 one, and in the 2021, okay, you're giving Jimmy Butler only credit in the finals, but they were shooting super hot from three both years. What as the GM are you doing to make your players shoot almost 45% from three? Nothing. And there's nothing you're doing as a coach either, by the way. They just got lucky. They were shooting terribly in the regular season, barely made it into the playoffs. There's some clutch factor. I'll give you that, but that's players, not coaches or GM. And then you just got lucky and you made it, right? So all credit to the players there. But what trades has he done? Seriously. Like, does anyone remember Hassan Whiteside? That was the last project of the Miami Heat.
I think they want us to forget that one.
Yeah, that was their DeAndre Ayton. I will never forget. I watched these bums for real. Like, I'm about this. So, Pat Riley ain't got that respect for me no more. You ain't going to work off cachet from 30 years ago, back when a dog could probably GM a team into the playoffs, okay? That's how it is. Yeah, I might sound disrespectful to some of the old heads, but that's how it always goes. Every 10 years, it's like, wow. It used to be so easy back in the day. And it's just a reality. And that's cool. I'm not going to take away from what you did back then. Your accomplishments are your accomplishments. But for today, I don't really care what you did 10 years ago. Show me some recent decisions. Show me some process that I can really respect. Because to me, the only good part of Miami culture at this point is Spoelstra. I like the coach. I like the zone defense. I like the defensive buy-in. I like all that. That's not the GM to me. No, at this point, I think Pat Riley's ego is sort of becoming Jerry Jones-esque. He's hurting the team more than he's helping the team by being this icon that transcends the team. I ain't with that. So get that man out of there. Maybe Jimmy will stay.
All right. I think that'll bring our segment to a close. I think that was very illuminating.
I got to take my blood pressure medication, man.
You're 23, bro.
It's a metaphorical blood pressure medication.
That's what Miami.
I talk about a lot of metaphorical drugs on the show. No real ones are ever consumed.
Yeah, don't do drugs, guys, unless you want.
Unless you're in Miami. He trying to find that joy. Jimmy Butler trying to find that joy in basketball.
Well, as he showed,
ecstasy. Anyone ever heard of ecstasy?
As he showed, Miami does not give you that kind of joy. It's only temporary and fleeting.
I blame Pat Riley.
Yeah, of course you do.
He took it away from us. Right,
I'll bring this segment to
wrap it up before I get in trouble.
I'm trying. You won't let me. Let's bring the segment to a close. We're going on a 3-minute break. We'll be back. We'll be discussing our final game from last night and then be moving on to previews.
Yes, sir.
Alrighty, welcome back to another segment of the 50-50 show. I'm your host, of course, Omair. This is my co-host, Omar. Next, we're going to be talking about the Dallas Mavericks taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder. The main question we'll be looking at today is Jalen Williams to blame for OKC losing to the Dallas Mavericks.
OKC.
You can't make any mistakes with this guy. He will always get on your neck. But don't worry, I'll be doing the same to him when he starts spouting his nonsense.
Pause.
Nah, I don't pause. I keep going.
No man on my neck.
So, Omar, can you answer this question for us and the audience? Is Jalen Williams to blame for OKC losing to Dallas? And to make it real quick for you, it's yes. But continue.
Okay. Weird. But
what do you mean weird?
Listen, the answer is yes. Jalen Williams is 100% to blame for this loss. And that's... I'll explain it, but I just want to say before one thing. The only reason we're even allowed to say that is because he is legitimately that good. You don't get to blame a mediocre player for a loss because a mediocre player shouldn't be carrying a team, you know? So I'm on record. I think Jalen Williams is really good. I'm taking Jalen Williams over guys like Paolo Banchero. I'm taking him over a lot of other players.
Are you taking him over Sabonis?
I'm taking him over Sabonis.
That's blasphemy.
Easily. One of the best wing defenders in the league, but he won't get respect because DPOYs are only big men. But amazing defense. He's even played center when Chet was out and they had no iHeart. incredibly versatile on defense, great offense, very clutch too, especially last year, but this year too.
Clutch. I think the IST Cup performance indicates something different.
IST Cup performance. All right, bro.
It's
stop before I start talking about ST and cups, okay?
Yo, a final is a final, bro.
Listen, yeah, he choked this one. 7 of 22, terrible shooting, 6 turnovers, terrible. When Shea got ruled out, yeah, obviously Dallas it should be closer. It went from like 7.5 to 4.5. But the favorite team was still the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Because they're so deep. You keep reminding us how deep they are.
And they and they did it. I mean, you look at Dort, you look at Aaron Wiggins, very good. Dort had like 8 of 10, like hyper efficient shooting, went way over his line. Aaron Wiggins, great performance. Even Cason Wallace, who had a really mediocre shooting night, I think he was like 4 of 13. He had 4 steals. You can make up for a lot of bad shooting with 4 steals because that's 4 turnovers you forced onto the opposing team. Kenrick Williams, probably the only role player that didn't do too hot. He was 1 of 6, 1 of 5 from 3. But he got his rebounds. He was still okay. So I'm really not looking to blame any of the role players. You know, when you see me talking about other teams like Max Christie, I really feel he's the weakness of that team, right? If LeBron goes 7 of 22, you won't see me blaming Max Christie. But LeBron doesn't go 7 of 22. Jalen Williams is a player that I honestly would say in the regular season, I did not overrate him. In the regular season, Jalen Williams or LeBron, I see no issue with taking Jalen Williams in that conversation. In only the regular season,
What did you just say?
Yes.
Say it again one more time.
Jalen Williams is equal or better than LeBron James in the regular season. I'll say equal, but just because he's a second option, LeBron's more of a first option. But Jalen Williams is supposed to be that guy. When Shea goes down, Jalen Williams usually steps up. We've seen it before. He just didn't today. That's pretty disappointing. Nothing really more I can say to defend him on that. Dallas was throwing a lot at him, but that doesn't excuse 7 of 22 shooting. I just want to shout out some Dallas players. PJ Washington, super clutch, 16 points, 5 assists. Hot as under 14.5. He went over in the last 30 seconds. Shout out my boy. I hate you for that. But no, great game. 4 turnovers, not great, but like I mentioned, OKC just great defense, getting a lot of steals. So PJ Washington and Gafford had 5 turnovers. That's what OKC does. So I'm not really going to blame PJ too much for that, and I instead credit him for his hyper-efficient 16 and 5. But I think the most credit for me goes to Kyrie Irving. This is a player that I've told you, I think Kyrie is... It's weird because the hoopers, right, guys who really care about handles, they'll say things like he's the best guard ever or something crazy like that.
Crazy stuff.
Yeah, well, because, the game is not just handles and it's not just aesthetics. But his finesse and his handles and his shooting and his offensive game in general and him being a taller guard, so him not being a super cone on defense.
6'3".
6'3" is like, come on, Jalen Brunson, Trae Young. I'm talking about those guys, right? And even taller guards like Tyler Hero or Tyrese Halliburton, they're usually a little less coordinated on the defensive end. So the height doesn't help them. Kyrie's in that sort of sweet spot where he still moves very fluid, even on defense. He can shuffle and keep up with a lot of things. So for me, I've said this before, but I'm just going to say this again. I think Kyrie Irving might be the best second option in the NBA. Okay, I'm gonna list some real quick. You got the Jaylen Browns of the world, you got the Darius Garlands of the world, you got ADs of the world, you got Jamal Murray's of the world, you got Cats of the world. I think that's 5 pretty good second options right there. I'm taking Kyrie over all of those, and that's really not debatable for me. Okay, so this game just once again goes to show that he had 25, 5 and 5. Okay, shooting like 50%, not bad, not great. But I want to highlight that Dallas was down early in the second quarter, and he was a big part of that run that got them back into the lead, and then he never let it go. It was Kyrie and PJ Washington, and then Kyrie. So there's reasons I'm shouting out those guys. It's not just the box score. I really like the leadership that I saw, and then also just credit Najee Marshall, double, 14 points, 10 rebounds. Did not have him going off that crazy. So I just love the performance there. So, but I'm not gonna say that. But I mean, at the end of the day, it was a 106-98 game. Yeah. OKC should not be putting up 98 points just because they lost.
That's Lakers level performance. No, I'm sick.
Which is what, like earlier, people be like, "Oh, I'm not a real Lakers fan." It's like I am a real Lakers fan, but you can't get hype over only scoring 102 on some G League level players. So this game, like, if I got role players playing pretty well, like Alex Caruso went 2 of 9, but he was still playing good defense. So all our role players did what they had to do to keep Dallas to a low score. Yep. I look at mostly Jalen Williams as the reason we weren't able to score 108 to 110 points. Now, obviously, does this like move the needle for me long term? No, there's no Chet, no iHeart, no Shea, and ultimately, let's say like J-Dub really isn't that guy when it comes to being a first option. Maybe I'm wrong, right? It doesn't matter because that's not going to be OKC's long-term future. You're not making J-Dub your number one option. So as long as J-Dub continues to impress and be excellent when he has great talent around him, like Shea, like Chet, like Ihart, I've really never seen J-Dub have terrible games when those guys are playing. So in the context of the OKC championship run, nothing changed for me. I'm not worried at all. But in the context of just my evaluation of J-Dub as a player, as a hooper, and maybe just like, if he ever got traded or if he ever wants to move, stuff like this is not great for the resume. Yeah, I know it's just a regular season game, but you're fighting for that top seed. And it was just a little sad to see. And J-Dub was to blame. There's really nothing else to say. But you got to credit Kyrie for the leadership from Dallas because this game was still difficult to win for Dallas.
All right, it's my turn. It's finally my turn because while you were talking, I was just getting injured.
Yeah, you're probably getting that haterade. You're just probably sipping on that haterade right there, weren't you?
Water only. That's all I drink. Unlike someone like you,
infused with
someone
haterade.
like you, we checked your cup. I don't know what we'll find in there, but let me get to the point.
Man, that's clear. That's all I know.
First of all, my heart almost dropped because I thought I would have to agree with you again that Kyrie was the best second option in the NBA, but no. Glad that I can disagree. Cat is better. Okay. But let's talk about the game. I did like Kyrie's performance. I think he's a solid first option. But one of the reasons I like him as second option so much is how much I hate watching him as a first option. I just don't like what I see. So then when I watch him play with Luka and see what he does, the way it looks so much better. I really appreciate that he's one of the best second options I've ever seen. He just fits into the role so well. Because some second options, they I wish I could be a first option. Yeah. And Kyrie, he felt like that mentally when he was on the Cavs, even though he didn't look like it when he played. Then he went to the Celtics, went to the Nets, saw what it's really like, saw what your boy J-Dub saw last night for one night only. And they be like, oh, that's not for me. I'm not that guy. Which I appreciate that maturity from Kyrie. He's just filling that role fantastically. PJ Washington, I also want to shout him out. I really love his floater game. When you watch last year's playoff run, PJ Washington, you cannot underrate him. Some of those games, especially that OKC series, 1 to 7 games, I believe, maybe 6. Regardless, it's close games, and sometimes Luka or Kyrie wasn't getting it going. PJ Washington with the floater. It was really great to see a Dallas fan. Those baseline floaters, oh my goodness. It's really good.
He always shows out against OKC.
Exactly.
That's the thing for him.
I respect that for him. You didn't give him any shine, but I want to show him some shine. He had more point guard duties with Doncic being out. I think he was very competent, not too many turnovers, good playmaking, good points. I think overall, across the board, a good performance. So, and then I don't want to get too much in the Kyrie versus Cat thing because it's 1A, 1B, but Cat, for me, is definitely better than Kyrie. The Knicks without Cat is just not too great. Cat is better offensively, better defensively. It's the whole thing because Cat is a mismatch nightmare. Kyrie, not so much.
Bro, your man can't stay on the floor in the playoffs and he got no handle. You talking about Kyrie offensively. Offensively.
Bro, dude, no big man can stop Cat completely.
Bro, Jokic dominates him.
Okay, Jokic. Yeah, MVP of our league. Okay.
What guard stops Kyrie? Because I seem to remember Curry and Klay Thompson getting crossed up. Couldn't do nothing to my boy.
Wow, Steph Curry being bad at defense?
Klay Thompson?
Omar, what other mind-blowing takes do you have for us? Let me stay on topic. Let me get back to topic.
Ant? When we smoked Ant last year Anthony
Edwards, he's not a defensive guy like that.
So your guy can't play defense.
He's decent at defense.
And we smoked him. And we smoked his pack.
He's decent at defense.
He called Kyrie out and he got his pack smoked. Let's just leave it at that. Second option versus second option.
I mean, sometimes when you call second option, he was the first option first and foremost. Okay, literally first and foremost. And secondly, you can't hate on a guy for talking his talk. It is what it is. And now let's get on to your boy J-Dub. What did last night show me? I think he's overrated. He was over my boy Sabonis, the box score beast in all-star voting. I hate that. I didn't like seeing that. Sabonis is better. J-Dub, 7 of 22 from the field, 6 turnovers. What did he show me last night? He can't handle the ball, can't pass under pressure, and he's got no three-point jumper. And to add insult to injury, 4 of 8 from the free throw line, 50%. Boy, is Shaq out here.
That's just variance. That's what I'm saying. Some of it's variance.
Yeah,
he's never gone 4
You say variance, I say lack of clutch factor. Because it's a close game, 4 of 8.
Nah, but he been clutch. Look at his fourth quarter stats. When OKC needs them to take over, you know who takes over?
Shea.
More than
SGA.
Shea?
It's SGA every time.
No, that's the thing with SGA. He's consistent. If you ever see him go on a scoring run, it's usually because he bricked 5 shots in a row earlier. No, I'm not saying this to insult him, but he gets to 30 no matter what. So if SGA misses early, he might look like he's taking over in the third quarter. That's just him getting back to his normal numbers. But when you're talking about real takeover, like we got to go get a bucket, J-Dub can hang with the best of them. You hating on him right now. Like, yeah, 4 of 8. What guard would go 4 of 8 normally? Like, you got to admit he was just off. He was just off.
He's off in a close game this is a game where he had to step up. So how you tell me he's clutch when this is absolutely the game for him to step up? His first option is out. This is his time to shine. He was 4 of 8 from the free throw line. 7 of 22 from the field.
So if you choke one game, you not clutch anymore?
Well, it definitely doesn't help.
No, I agree. It doesn't help. I said that myself, but you're trying to paint a narrative out of this whole thing.
Well, because I look at the IST Cup performance. I didn't like what I see there. And then last year's playoff.
OKC choked in that one.
Okay, that's true. But last year's playoff, he wasn't. They lost to Dallas. If he played a little better, if he was that true second option, they could have won.
Dallas is a tough matchup for him because I will say one critique that you pointed out, his 3-ball.
Yeah,
that's a weak.
It's either bad or streaky. If you're a fan, you call him streaky. If you know ball, you say it's bad.
Okay, I'm not going to debate that one, but in general, him and Shea are worse at the 3 than most top players in the league.
Yes.
And Dallas is really good at crowding the paint and attacking him on the perimeter with
on-ball Lively,
defense.
These great defenders in the paint.
Exactly. And Najee Marshall, not bad either.
Absolutely.
And P.J. Washington, because they didn't have Lively this game. But they were still able to manage exactly what you're saying. So I do want to say that you brought up the playoffs from last year also versus Dallas, and I just think it's a bad matchup. So that's why I'm not indexing, because to say someone's not a clutch player, well, if you put J-Dub against Dallas 10 times, then you'd say he's not a clutch player. That's like me saying LeBron's not a clutch player because he choked against the 2011 Dallas Mavericks. Like, I agree. There's no one can debate that.
See, the thing is, I disagree though. That is actually, I'm glad you bring it up because you're going about it all the wrong way. Okay, what you're saying with J-Dub, his game has a weakness that the Dallas Mavericks can exploit consistently. What happened with that Miami series? That's completely the opposite thing. Dirk Nowitzki and what's that guy? The Terry guy.
No, I don't know. I don't know. Terry Howard, I think, but JJ Barea is the main one.
Okay, yeah. JJ Barea is not a LeBron stopper. LeBron just choked. LeBron beat himself.
That's what I'm saying. That's what J-Dub did. No, that's what J-Dub did.
That's the thing. No. I would rather the guy who beat himself, because like LeBron, you can figure it out. J-Dub just didn't have the game. He got stopped by Dallas. He didn't stop himself.
You can say that a little bit for the field goal percentage, but I'm talking about the free throws.
Okay, well, free throws.
They didn't make him go 4 of 8.
Yeah, of course, that was a mental thing.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's in his mental. It's in his head a little bit.
But someone like LeBron, he also missed a free throw. I think we can agree it's a mental thing. That ghost has followed him his entire career. So your GOAT couldn't figure out the free throw thing, but now J-Dub, that guy. I mean, I love a small, chill guy, but he's gonna figure out his free throw ghost.
He ain't got no free throw ghost. He got a Dallas ghost, maybe. I'm a little. I mean, but I mean, hey, we didn't have Shea. We didn't have Shea.
So you're not tripping over this.
We didn't have Chet. We didn't have iHeart. We had 3 elite all-stars missing.
iHeart is not an all-star. Please.
iHeart should be. If you know ball, iHeart. Here's iHeart. Okay, ready? I'm in the frame. And I'm out the frame, right? Yeah. Even lower. Got to get the bicep out. I'm at Sabonis now. You can't see it, but I'm showing Sabonis right now. That's the level of difference in this league. That's what we were missing. So
what?
It is what it is, man. It is what
I was gonna ask you if you think iHeart is an all-star in the Western front court because the front court is stacked. But then you say that about my boy Sabonis. That's just outrageous.
Bro, who's the best big man in the West after Jokic? It's probably iHeart. I'm trying to think of another one.
Dude, are you serious? It's front court, so forwards count. So your boy LeBron. KD also counts. You going center for center specifically?
Okay. Because of usage, right? LeBron is worse in the regular season, but he's asked to do a lot more than iHeart is. He's asked to do a lot more.
Yeah, he's just better. You can say it however you want, but he's a better
player. And I guess
you
could argue Sengun, but I don't think Sengun is really asked to do that much.
Sengun is definitely better than iHeart.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
When Jalen Green is not doing well, as you like to point out yourself, he can be
Fred
quite
VanVleet.
streaky.
He has Amen Thompson. Okay. He has Dylan Brooks.
Okay. Or that great offense.
Those are all good players.
They're great defensive players. Fred VanVleet is on a historically bad rut right now, so I don't know where that's coming from.
In like the last month or two. Okay. Before that,
this is last month. He's been trash.
Yeah, but then Jalen Green stepped up, and then before that, Fred VanVleet. And also because they all play defense, that's what allows Sengun to be a bit of a cone on defense, and he gets to spend all his energy on offense. Sengun's not
bad on defense. You can't.
I mean, for
iHeart's a defensive specialist.
Yeah, he's a great defender.
So then, how can a defensive specialist be like?
Because he's also good on offense. He gets you hyper efficient 11 and like 5-6 assists. His passing is underrated. His passing is very underrated. How many assists your boy Sabonis gets? About 6. I would know. I take the under 6.5 all the time. iHeart, when he first joined OKC, he was getting them 3.5, 4.5 lines. Check his lines now: 5.5, 6.5. He passing way more. That's underrated. That's slept on. And we were missing that last night, and we would have won if he was in there for sure. Again, I'm not taking the blame off J-Dub. I just think it's not a position.
Like you're trying to take the blame off.
It's not a position. It's not a position he finds himself in frequently. You got.
So he couldn't step up.
When you ain't got the reps. You know what? Who was it? Jackie Chan. Who was it?
What about Jackie Chan? We're talking about basketball right now.
No. It's like you don't fear the man who's practiced 1,000 things one time. You fear the man who's practiced one thing 1,000 times. J-Dub has
Bruce
a lot
Lee,
of
my guy.
Bruce Lee, my
That's Bruce
Listen,
Lee.
Asian badasses. Okay, that's my bad. That's my bad. I did not mean offense. They both cool. Okay.
You saved that. Okay, I'll give you that.
That's how I view it with J-Dub. Is like, even if I'm gonna give you some ground, I agree it wasn't a good game. I open with that, but I just think it's hard to judge him too much because it's like, not only is he normally a second option, or if you want to argue third with Chet, whatever, you can argue it. He's used to having a certain level of team around him, certain type of guys hitting shots, certain like what about the defense, right? He lost Chet, then they got Ihart. Now he didn't have Ihart. He literally didn't have a big man. His only big man, the closest thing he had was like Kenrich Williams. Right? So I'm just saying, I don't know how much I want to judge him for that because it's not reps. He doesn't have reps in this situation. That's all I'm saying. That's all. But when I've seen him be the second option and he needs to go be clutch on the offensive end, get a steal and go get me a midi bucket, go get me a dunk, I've seen J-Dub do that plenty of times. So I feel like you're trying to besmirch his name because you're trying to up some less than stellar players.
I'm not trying to besmirch him. I think the fans overrate him a little bit. I like him as a player. Like I said, I like him as a player. But compared to my boy Sabonis, he is worse. Okay? And you know what? If we want to use dumb quotes, to make our arguments.
Dumb quotes. I live by these quotes.
Of course you do. I mean, of course you do. Luka Doncic said it best. Everyone's tough when they are. Okay? You don't find out who you really are until the times get tough. All right,
Are you talking about the guy who whines to the refs and doesn't play defense? That's your goat?
No, I used two quotes. I did 2 for 1. So the times got tough for J-Dub. His boy, first option out. Ihart, best center in the West corner. This guy is out.
Outside of Jokic. Outside of Jokic.
Okay. So that still doesn't make it any better. It does. What did he do? He choked. So we found out who J-Dub really is, and he's a choker.
Nah. You hate it, bro. But all right, let's wrap this one up because you hating, and we got to get
you have no defense. You have no defense left.
I've given all the defense I can.
Sabonis, come on.
I've given all the defense I can. All right, and welcome back to the last segment of the 50-50 show for today. We're going to be previewing some of tonight's games. We have 2 NBA games and 1 NFL game. We'll open with the NBA games. So the first one we want to talk about is the Suns versus Pistons. No matter, the Suns are favored by 1.5, so it should be close. Yep. But the market believes Phoenix Suns should win today. As far as I know, and as far as the market knows, Nick Richards making his debut with the Phoenix Suns as their new starting center today. Bradley Beal not playing. What do you see in this game? Who do you have winning? And what are you expecting to see from Nick Richards or either of these teams?
Okay, I have the Phoenix Suns winning. First of all, let's talk about Nick Richards. I hope for the Suns' sake that he plays well, but me personally, I'm completely befuddled by this move. I personally thought Jusuf Nurkic was quite good, mainly because I think he's really improved his performance on the defensive end, which before was a bit of a critique for him, but then he really started coming to his own as a two-way player, most likely being the third best player on this team, and then Bradley Beal fourth behind him, of course. So I have to assume there's some internal tension, locker room tension, something that's not going on. Okay? So I hope Nick Richards can hopefully fill in that gap to some degree, provide good defense. I don't care how he's on offense, all right? You look at Suns basketball, it's very much give the ball to KD, space out. Give the ball to D-Book, space out. It's just the way they do it. So then we need some good defense because KD getting old and D-Book has never been a good defender. We need Nick Richards to bring that defensive side of the ball. Now, if this works out, I really like that for the Suns because Jusuf Nurkic coming off the bench, a pretty solid center being your bench center, that's that depth. We've talked about how any team who wants to contend requires depth. This would go towards building it. I just don't know if Nick Richards is your guy to doing it. And he seems like more should be coming off the bench with Nurkic starting, but we'll see how it goes. For as why I think the Suns will win, it's KD and D-Book, man. I know D-Book's having a bit of a down season, but KD is still deadly as ever. I think he will take it personally to lose to the Pistons. So I think he's definitely going to come out shooting. He's going to be strong. And then we look at the Pistons side. They have decent defenders. They have quite good team defense. Very strong, very gritty, passionate. Just a little bit dirty maybe, if you will. But someone like Cade, he's not good at defense. So I think he's definitely someone to target. Tim Hardaway Jr., he's not good at defense. Tobias Harris, he's decent. It's really the Jalen Duren, Isaiah Stewart that are bringing that intensity. Thing is, Players like KD and D Book, they're all great at drawing free throws. So if Duran, if Stewart, they both have foul trouble, they're both a bit of hotheads, I think KD and D Book can both get them into trouble, and that will pose serious issues for the Pistons. If they're in foul trouble, their defense will fall apart, and the Suns will just devour. Finally, Bradley Beal being out. While it is not great, because I do think he's the fourth best player, ultimately right now he's coming off the bench, being a creator off the bench. I think without that, you can still very much win. Because he is playing in a reduced role, but I think he's better suited for at this moment. It just means he also has less impact on the probability of winning. I think Tyus Jones, that'll be interesting to see how he does. I think he should have a good game because, like I said, the Pistons have a good defense. It's mostly in the interior. I think they won't be able to pressure Tyus Jones as much, and we'll see more of the Wizards level Tyus Jones. Good assists, good playmaking. So I'll really be looking out for that. But I expect KD and D Book to have good games if the Suns have any chance of winning.
Yeah, I completely disagree with you here and the market. I have Pistons favored, so I'm going to take them to upset, but for me, it's not even an upset. If Nick Richards starts, he will be the worst player on the floor at all times. I have him as worse than every single bench player on both teams. I have no idea why they got him. He was terrible. Mark Williams is terrible. Every single player, and specifically center that's ever come out of Charlotte, has been terrible. I have no idea why any team thought they could get a contender piece from that team. All you can get is some Laffy Taffy from their convenience, their vending machines.
You can't get a PS5, that's for sure.
Yeah, they're too broke to give you PS5s. How do you think they're going to be giving you good players? Come on. There's absolutely nothing that impresses me. If Bradley Beal was in, I would favor the Pistons more. At that point, I would be putting my entire life savings on it.
Of course you would say that.
But he's not, so that's one bad player removed from the Phoenix Suns lineup. Yes, D-Book and KD are by far the best players. I don't think I'm surprising anyone by saying that, and anyone who doesn't think that is probably on that Cade copium. But Cade has been improving. This is a guy who's shooting 49% from the short midi, and he shoots 9 of them a game. That makes him one of the best midi shooters in the entire league. I don't love his rim percentage, only 53. That's atrocious. That's bad even in the Plummer era. But the Phoenix Suns, as you mentioned, they don't have great rim defense. KD has gotten worse and worse at that as he's gotten older. Obviously, D-Book's...
And Nurkic coming off the bench.
Well, I don't even think Nurkic is playing. Nurkic isn't even playing, and D-Book and Tyus Jones obviously both not doing anything as well. So basically, if Nick Richards is way better than I think he is, Cade might have a bad game and the Suns will win. If Nick Richards is exactly as bad as I think he is, the Detroit Pistons are going to feast inside. And then I just think Detroit in general is just deeper. So not even like a matchup thing, but you got Cade, you got Tobias, you got Tim Hardaway Jr., you got Malik Beasley, you got Azar Thompson, Isaiah Stewart, Simone Fontecchio. These are 4, 5, 6, 7 players, right? After D-Book and KD, your next best players are probably Grayson Allen and Royce O'Neal. Both of those guys are probably worse than all 7 I just mentioned. So for me, it's like when I think of how this game goes, it's KD, D-Book, 7 Pistons guys, and then the rest of the Suns lineup. And that's where the mismatch comes in for me, is your 2 best players need to carry basically a YMCA level team. I don't know how else to put it.
It's a bit much.
And they keep shooting themselves in the foot because they're obviously spending money to get Nick Richards. I don't think it costs them any draft picks, but you're getting your cap space eaten up, right, when you sign these contracts. This franchise is over. This franchise is cooked. They're not winning anything. KD, baby, vet min for the Lakers. Come through anytime you want. And that's all I really got to say on this one.
Kooky Lakers fan.
The main thing, if you're watching this game, if Nick Richards has an absolute stinker of a performance, he's pretty foul prone. He's pretty bad at offense, pretty bad at defense. Okay rebounder, can't pass for jack, will turn the ball over. If all that stuff happens, you come here tomorrow and you say, wow, Omar, you really knew that this guy was absolute buns. And if he has a good game, then maybe we just won't have a stream tomorrow. That'll be the little
No, we will. We'll meet up tomorrow, don't worry.
But yeah, I got the Pistons winning. That's all I got to say about this one. So if you're all set too, then are you all set? You got anything else?
Yeah, I think ultimately I just believe in KD and D-Book enough to get it done. I think they can carry these guys to a win over the Pistons. I agree. I think Cade, one thing I actually really like about this, even though the new center they brought on, he's not that good, Cade could still have a bad game because of his reliance on the midi. He might just miss. Midi, you're more prone to variance than layups because he's already so trash at the rim. I don't see that changing just because the center on him is a little worse than the other guys he's been playing.
Yeah. We'll see, though, because one of the big things for Cade is he doesn't really know how to like finish over guys taller than him because he just knows how to abuse his height advantage his whole life. Nick Richards is bad enough that I think you can actually just like
I don't
do a
think
little
so.
hook
I
shot
think
over
Cody
him.
Richards is tall enough.
But all right, let's move on to the next game, the next NBA game. This is gonna be the T-Wolves versus the Cavs. Now the market has the Cavs favored by 7.5. It opened 5.5, and I wanted the T-Wolves side. I'll let you know that right now. So the market heavily disagrees with me. They think this is getting to almost borderline blowout territory. The T-Wolves did just beat the Knicks 116-99, but that was without Cat, and this is a back-to-back. So, Omair, I've explained some of the situations here. You obviously know all the players here. What are you thinking when you're gonna, when you watch this game? What do you plan on seeing? Who do you have winning? Is it gonna be close? Is it gonna be a blowout? Talk to us.
For me, absolutely. I think it's gonna be a close game. I don't expect a blowout. I absolutely think my Cavs will take the win. For me, I think Anthony Edwards is gonna be the best player.
You can't even say it with a straight face.
I'm laughing. You want to know why I'm laughing? Not because I don't believe it. I absolutely think Ant-Man is gonna be the best player in the game. I just said with a straight face, no problem. I start laughing because I know this guy will take offense to it, and when he gets mad, I start laughing. But all that being said, I think the Cavs will still win because they're deeper. So D. Mitch, I think Ant is better. D. Mitch is not a huge chasm. D. Mitch is quite good. Garland, I think absolutely is better than Gobert. Maybe even smokes his pack level. I love Garland's playmaking. He will feast. Mobley, he's just playing really well. If he stretches the floor out, like, what's going to happen? So if Gobert's on Jared Allen, with Jared Allen still a lob threat. So, actually, yeah, you know what? Cavs are definitely winning, and it might actually get into blowout territory.
Bro,
okay?
talk to him.
Yeah.
I thought Ant was the best player on the court, though.
No, he is, but still not now because Gobert's so bad. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you what's going to happen, okay? We know Gobert. He's a DPOY player. He's gotten a bunch of those awards. He's great. What is he really bad against? Lobs. We saw in the playoffs. We saw what Gafford and Lively did to your French man. So, what do we have here? Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, both vertical athletes, both lob threats. I can easily see Garland getting the pick and roll, okay? And Edwards, he's my boy, but he's not good at defense. Mike Conley, God, please. If I have to watch Mike Conley try to watch Garland, I have to look away because that's elder abuse. So, Garland's going to get downhill easily. If Gobert comes to stop Garland, that's an easy lob for my boy Garland because he's a great passer, technically very proficient. To Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, take your pick. I don't care. At the same time, if Jared Allen's the one in the paint, he's catching that lob. Mobley's sitting in the three-point line. Whoever is guarding him has to be right there with him because he's a great three-point shooter. Paint is stretched out. What we know this about Gobert, when the defense around him is not that good, as it is with the Timberwolves, and against a great offense, Luka Doncic, great offense, Cavaliers, even better because they're a great team offense, they're going to eat him and the team alive. So, yeah, you know what? I will say Cavs will blow them out. I still think Ant-Man the best player in the game, but it's a small margin, and it's not enough to overcome Gobert's lack of ability to cover them defensively because he's good at defense, but in this situation, I don't see him doing enough to get them to win. And then Julius Randle, yeah, he's okay, but we all know Cat's better. And he's just an okay guy. Hopefully he shoots well from three. He can stretch the floor a little bit for Ant-Man. But if he can't even do that, then I don't know what Minnesota fans are expecting. So yeah, Cavaliers, I'll take the blowout. They're gonna win.
Yeah, no, I'm heavy on the T-Wolves here. The big thing for me is just that we have home court advantage. I think that's pretty big for the T-Wolves here. Yeah, I think Gobert, you can say he's slightly worse than Garland. You can say they're about equal. I definitely don't think there's a giant gap. And this is just regular season. Obviously, both have their playoff issues. And then I have Ant as worse than D. Mitch. So it's interesting that you rate Ant over D. Mitch, but you rate the team worse than I do.
Yes.
And so we'll get into that because I also think Randall's worse than Mobley.
Yep.
And Jarrett Allen smokes Jaden McDaniels'
Of
pack,
course.
right?
I mean, McDaniels, we know what he does
at this point,
defensively.
you're probably thinking I'm building up to a Cavs blowout angle. Especially then I also add Dean Wade I have over Dante DiVincenzo. So I can't name a single player on the T-Wolves so far who's better than a comparable counterpart. Just starter to starter, really.
You know how this works, right?
But then here's the thing. Mike Conley is by far the best bench player in this game. Okay? If Dante DiVincenzo starts, Mike Conley is by far the best bench player in this game. And then Nickeil Alexander-Walker is the second best. So why do I have this game being close? The bench minutes. especially the Cavs, they don't run their guys that heavy minutes. They're not a New York Knicks. They're not given 40 minutes. I often see Darius Garland having 28 to 30 minutes, right? Yeah. That's one of the reasons his box scores don't pop out to casuals is people don't realize he puts up 7 assists in 30 minutes. Jalen Brunson or Tyrese Halliburton, they're putting up 8-9 assists in 35 to 37 minutes, right? So per minute, Garland can hang with those guys, but the Cavs starters just don't play as many minutes. And I believe versus Minnesota, those are going to be the crucial minutes where Minnesota makes this a competitive game. Do I have Minnesota winning? Yes, I will say it. I will take the upset. Obviously, I'm not saying it's a 50-50 proposition. The spread is what it is for a reason. But if I have to take those plus money odds, if I have to pick an upset winner, I really like my chances with the T-Wolves here because of Mike Conley and Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I don't mind. And as for the lob threat you're talking about, I'm not going to disagree. I definitely think lobs are one of Rudy Gobert's worst aspects because he's not a very vertical athlete. But I literally watched this man shut down the entire Warriors offense for 4 minutes just a couple of days ago.
I mean, Curry
and he was great versus the Knicks just last night. They were only able to score 99 points.
No big bodega, though.
No, exactly. I think if Evan Mobley starts hitting the three, that's when I'm really going to get worried for Gobert. But if Evan Mobley doesn't get hot from three and the only threat is the lob, then I'm comfortable with Rudy, and I think he'll really shut down the cuts to the basket from the bench players, and I think he'll shut down Darius Garland and D-Mitch attacking the basket. Because last night, I mean, he was pretty much perfect from the field, 11 points, good amount of rebounding, just excellent game. I've just been liking what I'm seeing from Rudy, and I think the team chemistry has gotten a little better because you might not be able to tell from like how many games they're winning, but before Minnesota was losing when Ant was shooting, as you like to say, Steph Curry level. Recently, Ant's been shooting worse and worse, just regressing to a more normal percentage, but they've really been winning about the same amount of games. And I think obviously part of it is Dante DiVincenzo starting and providing a spark, but I think their chemistry is just getting a little better. They've got to be having these conversations in the locker room. And so as long as those issues continue to get fixed, then I'm more and more confident in my actual ratings of the players. And I rate Rudy Gobert really highly. I rate Mike Conley really highly. And I think it's just the home court advantage. I think that can't be understated. So I got Minnesota. They might even just win it. But if they lose, it's going to be a close loss. And if Ant is the reason they lose, you can expect me to be here tomorrow talking about that and preaching to the choir about my French boy. Pause.
Yeah, boy. I was going to say.
Anyways, that's it for me on this game. I'm taking the bench angle. You're basically just saying the starters are so much better. Yep. It should be pretty winning. I get that. Now, real quick, I want to talk about the NFL game before we wrap up the show. We don't talk a lot of NFL on the show, but we do watch it. Chiefs versus Texans, two teams we have a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience with. I'd like to open on this one if you don't mind.
Please do.
So the Chiefs are favored by 8.5 in this game, and the Chiefs are famously a team that wins but doesn't cover. That's like a betting thing people talk about. And, I mean, you see it with your eyes. Like, when they win, it's always in sort of weird ways. Like, I think back to the Carolina Panthers game this season where it was like, are they really going to lose to the Carolina Panthers? And then they barely won. All the players were like low-key disgusted when they won. They won off like a field goal. They were like, we barely just beat this team, right? That's exactly what the Chiefs are. But they've done it enough for so many years that for me, it's like something I've accepted. Because as a fan or even as a hater, really, you might be like, oh, they're getting lucky. The refs keep bailing them out. Variance. I don't think it's any of those things. I think Patrick Mahomes is the kind of quarterback that just gets you the win. That's a sign of greatness. I look at Tom Brady. I look at LeBron, MJ, and the NBA.
If it's truly that great, why the games get so close?
Well, because the team isn't actually that good. And I think in the regular season, he definitely struggles more than he does in the playoffs. Like when you look at his most quarterbacks do worse in the playoffs. You look at, people critique Lamar Jackson. I'm not a hater of Lamar Jackson at all, but I think there's no doubt to anybody. Lamar Jackson in the regular season versus Lamar Jackson in the playoffs is like really, really good versus just like okay, right?
Two different players.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes is one of the few. I think like you remember like Eli Manning, right?
Who could forget him?
Yeah. So Peyton Manning being the better brother and having all the MVPs. But Eli Manning, one of those guys who felt like he stepped up in the playoffs. Those 2 Super Bowl rings required a lot of clutchness from him. Even when he choked in the first half, he would clutch up in the second half, right? Obviously, Patty Mahomes on a different level. But there's just some of these quarterbacks that in the playoffs level up. Obviously, the playoffs are starting here. So this guy is either my GOAT or my second best quarterback. It's him versus Tom Brady. I'll just say second for now so I don't upset anybody, but this is the air of player we're talking about here. And so they're rightfully favored by 8.5. I don't know that they win by 8, 9 or more, but I definitely have them winning, and I just wanted to talk about some of the reasons. The main one being that I've talked about this before with the NFL. Receivers don't matter. I've never felt receivers matter. Tom Brady showed it to us. Patrick Mahomes has been showing it to us. A couple other great quarterbacks have shown it to us. If you're like, you think about like Jokic in the NBA, right? I think of him as a quarterback. He shows that too. In any sport, when you're distributing, when you get to make a bunch of decisions, you don't need great athletic guys. Like, it's good to have them. But if you just have guys who will listen to you, you can make them look great. So I'm not worried about the lack of receivers we have. And we got some decent guys. Xavier Worthy, DeAndre Hopkins. Travis Kelce was looking really bad at the beginning of the year. Now he's looking okay. But it's really about the QB, our O-line, and our defense. So the defense is what I want to key in on. Steve Spagnuolo, I mean, his Chiefs defense has always been famous. You got Chris Jones and Nick Bolton as the anchors. You got McDuffie as one of the best corners in the league. And I'm just expecting some really high-level blitz packages. And C.J. Stroud had a press conference where he talked about it. Like, he is aware of it. He's not stupid. But ultimately, he's just a young quarterback. Even if you know about it and your coaches have been telling you about it and you've been preparing all week for those blitzes, it's easier to do. It's easier to talk about and think about than to actually do. So I really think the young quarterback is going to struggle with that in C.J. Stroud. The Jalen Watson injury was tough for the Chiefs defense. They went from the 6th passing defense to the 30th in the middle of the season. And they went from the 2nd best rushing defense to 24th. So if you watched a lot of Chiefs in the middle of the season, you might have started thinking their defense was really quite bad. But as we wrap up the season, these last couple of weeks, they've been like one of the best passing defenses, 2nd, and now they're the 13th best running defense. So almost top 10 in both categories. The Texans defense, I've seen a lot of people talking about, especially through Azil Al-Shair. But the Chiefs defense is arguably better. So that's the main thing I wanted to talk about in this game. Like, the total's already pretty low. I think most people know it's going to be probably low scoring. It's going to be gritty. And I just think if that's true, which most people would say it is, give me the quarterback that can make magic happen. Because if it's like a blowout, like it's a really high-scoring game, it gets scary. But if the game's always going to be within a touchdown or within a field goal, give me the guy who can go create a touchdown out of his butt. That's where I'm at. So maybe I'm going to come off, we are from Texas. CJ Stroud, been doing well. I definitely think the Amber Rose curse hit him a little bit. I've talked to you about that. I think he's doing a little worse. But
a sophomore slump.
Yeah, no, it's a sophomore slump. They lost Tank Dell again.
Yep. That really hurt them because they're doing quite well with Dell.
And Nico Collins still balling out.
Yeah, Nico Collins still doing well, but you tell me receivers don't matter. Are you going to say that Tank Dell being out isn't making a huge impact for the Texans and the chances?
I think if CJ Stroud was like a better quarterback than Patty Mahomes, you're not saying he lost that battle because he doesn't have Tank Dell. I think CJ Stroud is like, let's say, the 12th best quarterback in the league. I'm just throwing out a number. Maybe he's like 8th. I'm not trying to disrespect him, but to me, Patty Mahomes in the playoffs is number 1. So I think Patty Mahomes with DeAndre Hopkins and Xavier Worthy and an old Travis Kelce would beat even a healthy Tank Dell, Nico Collins, whoever you want to, Stephon Diggs, whoever you want to put out there for receivers.
Diggs, I believe, is also out.
Yeah, he's out too. But I'm saying even if they were all healthy, right? I think people might point at the receiver core, and I'm not saying it doesn't hurt, especially a young quarterback. I think receivers matter more when you're young, because when you're young, you might throw up some of those dumb balls, and you need the receivers to be athletic and go get it. When you're an elite quarterback, you put it like it gets to the point where, like, obviously I would die if I got hit by an NFL player, but someone like Mahomes can make it so that it drops into someone like my hand. I didn't, who doesn't play football at a high level. You look at some of these younger guys, and it's like you threw it, but like the receiver had to run and go get it. So I think it matters a little bit specifically because C.J. Stroud isn't as good as Patty Mahomes.
You bring up some decent points. For me, I'm going to be taking the Texans. Just because I
you got them winning, or you just got them covering the spread, like keeping it close?
I am covering the spread. They're going to keep it close because the reason I say that is because, like I said, you said it yourself, the Texans defense is quite good. The Chiefs defense is also good. So it's going to be a gritty game. We got two good defense going at it. So then it comes down to offense. I'm not going to be dumb and say my homeboy is worse than Stroud. He's obviously better. But I still think Stroud, he can also make some of that magic happen. He has a bit of that quality. That's what we saw last season. You have to remember, he's a rookie who won, I think, the wild card round. So he's shown when, the playoff lights turn on, pressure goes up, he delivers. Okay? I know that the new magnitude, they got past the wild card round. Remember, they were underdogs to beat the Chargers. They whooped the Chargers trick. Now they're here. They got here off the back of Stroud's performance. And then last season too, Stroud
and the defense.
And the defense, of course.
4 interceptions.
Absolutely,
from
the defense played amazingly. But I also want to give credit to Stroud because it's a quarterback-driven league. But yes, the defense played quite well. So they're showing themselves too. I want to say last season, even though they lost in the divisional round, I think the defense was a little worse. And that wild card round, I just really liked what I saw from Stroud. To do that as a rookie, that's that magic. So, he's a sophomore. He might not be there yet. But I think we're going to see those exact qualities come into play. Okay, he's always showing his awareness of the game, his maturity, talking about those blitz packages. That's exactly what I want to see from my young QB. So I'll say this: I think he's gonna make sure the game is close, but ultimately I think he will lose because I of course don't think Patrick Mahomes is the GOAT, but he is a very good player and he absolutely does turn it on in the playoffs. So this is gonna be a close game, but I expect good things from Stroud.
Yeah, all right. I mean, we'll be seeing that. I guess I'll take the Chiefs spread. I'm not, I just have the Chiefs winning. That's more so what I'm confident in, but I'll take them, man. I'll take them. 2 tutties. Win by 14, baby. Or actually, no. 10. A tutty and a field goal. Anyways, that's really all we have to say for that one. And we've talked about the 2 other NBA games that are going to be played tonight. So we'll be back tomorrow to discuss some of the best games that were played today and then preview tomorrow's games.